I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite podcast on the Citadel. Bye.
Wake up, everybody. Today is sometime in 2186, and we are Never Free to Play, a podcast where we talk about all the video games we wish we were playing. I'm one of your hosts, Sean Mivers, joined by my co-host, Karch and. If you decide you like us and love Krogans as much as we do, subscribe to us on YouTube and podcast services, or find us on Twitter, where we are at Never Free to Play. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, ideas, feedback, please send it to us at neverfreetoplay@gmail.com. Karch, my friend, how are you doing?
I'm good. This is a long time in the making.
Yeah, this was severely delayed because I wanted to have the T-shirt that I'm now wearing.
Yeah,
desperately in order to film this.
I've seen it. I can't see it right now. How's it? Is it looking good on camera?
It looks great on camera.
Awesome.
I actually moved. I had shifted at some point to having my microphone tilted to the right instead of being tilted left, and I had to go back to the left for this episode because I needed the N7 and the sleeve to be fully visible for maximum impact here.
How long did it take to get there? Regale us real quick about your journey with the shirt.
So I ordered, back in the beginning of September, I ordered from BioWare's store, I ordered this N7 t-shirt and also the 25-year anniversary book for the BioWare company. I also ordered a hoodie in the style of the hoodie you can wear in Mass Effect 2 and 3. For some reason, BioWare doesn't sell that hoodie, so I ordered that from a company in Australia. That just got through customs today.
So weird.
This shirt, though, got here last week, so it took it just like 3.5 weeks to get here.
That's a long time.
Which, yeah, in the age of Amazon, apparently I bought it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy this, and then I finally bought it a week later. Apparently, PAX East was going on, and they had 10% off in their or 20% off in their store for PAX. So I might have just been poorly timing for a bunch of people ordered stuff, and they had to work through a backlog.
Probably. And, COVID.
I also ordered, and this was a pre-order, but I ordered a LED lit Omni tool that I'll be able to wear, and it has the flip-out blade and the little twirly thing in the middle and all that. So
that's pretty cool.
Whenever I get around to getting my shelves and my new sounding in the background, and I build my shelf of nerdy things, that'll prominently have will sit there right next to my Wedge Antilles helmet for all of the 7 viewers to see.
I'm telling you, man, you need to get the N7 helmet too. You can wear the hoodie with the helmet and then have the Omni tool on. It'll look weird, but it'll work.
Easiest cosplay ever.
Pretty much. It's like the lazy man's Commander Shepard.
All right. Before we get into what we're going to be talking about, and if you haven't figured out what it is we're going to be talking about at this point, I don't know. Apparently, you didn't read what you clicked on to watch this video. Housekeeping. Jason is not here, so sub, follow. And if you're watching this is a week in which we're doing a podcast, which means later in this week we'll be streaming. So come watch us stream something.
That's right.
Probably the New Republic still, or the Old Republic.
The Old Republic.
The Old Republic. Don't forget that the.
Important.
All right. We're talking Mass Effect, the entire trilogy.
The Legendary Edition.
The Legendary Edition. And not Andromeda, because I don't think either of us have played Andromeda.
Haven't touched it.
Except for the 30 minutes I played of it.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who don't know, Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 recently came out back in, what was it, March, May?
It was May.
Sometime in the spring.
Yeah, it was May. It was
May.
just 14th. That's right. It was the day after my birthday. Yep, May 14th.
Okay. Yeah. So came out May 14th with Legendary Edition, which was a graphical overhaul for all 3 games, and then some gameplay improvements, particularly for Mass Effect 1.
Mm-hmm.
Mass Effect is BioWare's kind of premier sci-fi series. One of the first big things they did once they're one of their first big, unique intellectual properties. They'd gotten away from doing the Dungeons and Dragons, Forgotten Realms stuff, and the Star Wars license.
Yeah.
And started Mass Effect. So Mass Effect 1 came out November 20th of 2007. Mass Effect 2 came out in January 26th of 2010. And Mass Effect 3 came out March 6th of 2012. Which, again, is just crazy to me that those 3 games came out within 5 years of each other.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. That doesn't happen too much anymore. If at all, if ever, unless every now and then you get a kind of really niche series, usually on the Japanese side, and they'll pump them out pretty quick. Yakuza is one that comes to mind as something that
that's true.
That serializes pretty well. But yeah, this is fairly unheard of these days. And while it might have shown in the end of the third one, which we'll talk about later, that it might have been rushed just a bit, it's still really impressive, and they definitely got the job done. So
yeah. Well, it's just to me, I think about all the talk we've been having of God of War lately, where it's like God of War, each game has got 5 years in between it. It's like this entire series came out in less the time than we're getting between God of War and God of War Ragnarok.
It's nuts.
Yeah. So, real quick, we said we're talking about the Legendary Edition. Karch, do you have, beyond playing the Legendary Edition this year, do you have any history with this series?
I do. I have a history of keeping this game in this series at arm's length because I tried it out way back when, not right when it came out. I think maybe even the third one had come out at this point. But I tried the first one and I was like, it was fine, but I ended up, I don't know if it was rented or whatever, but I just didn't keep going with it. And I always thought it was a poor man's KOTOR. I don't believe that anymore. But I did eventually play through and beat the entirety of the first game. I don't know, 20. It would have had to have been around the time the third one came out, because I definitely hadn't done it by the time my daughter was born. And then I played a smidge of the second one and never got back to it. And then that was it. And then I finally decided, you know what? I'm gonna play this Legendary Edition because this is a Legendary series, and and I loved every minute of it.
Nice. Yeah, I played Mass Effect 1 pretty much right after it came out. Probably for because of the fact that I was such a big Baldur's Gate KOTOR fan. And then I love all things sci-fi. I played 2 shortly after it came out, and those would have been when I was in college. So they would have been, I played very few video games in college. So I think 2 I probably played some summer in college. 3 I would have been in Washington, D.C. roughly when that came out, with having joined the Navy. Mm-hmm. And I played that about a year later because I remember the extended cut of the endings had come out by this point.
Yeah.
I loved it at the time, but as we'll get into this, like playing through Legendary Edition, I had a very emotional reaction to playing these games that I do not remember having when I played them way back in the day. So I don't know if it's because I crammed them so much quicker, or I'm just in a completely more in touch with my emotion stage of my life. But yeah, these games really hit me pretty solid here playing them this year, and then obviously I beat them all this year with my super awesome FemShep.
Yep. Yeah, I played all 3. I bought it, I think, the day it launched, but it took me a little while to get through it. I don't think I finished it until August. So between May and I think it was August, maybe July. Anyway, about 2 to 3 months, over the course of 3 games. I think of like 80-ish hours over all 3 of them. Maybe closer to 90. But yeah, I what's the word I'm looking for? I have those same feelings about how I played the first one and it was fine, but it didn't even kind of wow me. But there was something just kind of magical about this one through, and that caught me off guard a little bit in the fact that sci-fi isn't really my thing. Like, I like Star Wars, and I'll dabble and dip my toe into things like that, but when we're talking about what kind of make-believe you like, it's always going to be swords and sorcery fantasy stuff for me, way over sci-fi. But maybe that's changing. I don't know. Maybe I'm just finally opening my tastes up, broadening my horizons.
You're such a Lord of the Rings nerd.
I am such a Lord of the Rings nerd. I can't get over it. It's so good.
So I beat the Legendary Edition in about, I think, 115 hours. I remember because you started before I did, and I think I started catching up to you.
Mm-hmm. You did at one point,
and then like 2, I think I was doing pretty good, and then you just blew me. Like what happened? I took about a week to 1 to 2 weeks off between each of these games. Because especially like 1 to 2, they play so differently, and I needed to let my mind reset. But I remember like taking that gap off between 2 and 3 and just watching you plow through 3. I'm like, I'm not gonna catch him anytime soon.
I did. I started 3, and then like I was just like kind of piddling around, and then like over the course of a weekend, I knocked out like 3/4 of the game. I just couldn't stop, could not stop. But we'll get to that later.
I was say, yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. So, real quick before we go any further, this is a Mass Effect Spoilercast. So if you haven't played Mass Effect, go play Mass Effect and then come back.
You should go.
Yeah, you should go. and come back and then listen to us gush about and also critique Mass Effect. But yeah,
critique? No. You didn't say anything about critiquing. This is only praise. Oh no, I'm kidding. Okay. I'm kidding.
There will also be a quiz at the end.
Yes,
I
of
hope
course.
you covered all possible branching storylines, and also chose all of the correct options.
Yes.
All right, that is your final warning. We are moving on. And before we actually get to Mass Effect 1, I want to take a brief moment. So this game series changes quite a bit over the course of playing the game. In particular, going from Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2, where it really goes from an RPG that is a cover shooter to a cover shooter with RPG elements.
What is basically all modern gaming these days. You know, like it basically kind
really
of became what is now just the norm, which is here's a game with a gameplay style. Maybe it's shooting, maybe it's not. But yes, there is some sort of progression system in place. You aren't just picking up a gun occasionally or maybe learning one or two new abilities that are permanent. There's even all the way through 3, there's still some kind of choice to make, unless you level all the way up. But on the way, there's a choice to make as far as how your character will progress.
Now, we talked a little bit about this in previous podcasts, where we both started off preferring Mass Effect 1's gameplay over Mass Effect 2. Where did you fall out on that come the end of the series?
I fell out. I ate my words a little bit. I didn't, and part of the reason I never continued playing the game was because I did really much enjoy the combat and the systems in Mass Effect 1 so much that when I got to 2, it was so. This is way back when, not in my most recent playthrough, but when I got to 2, it was a little jarring. On top of the fact that there was so much change between the way that the cast is structured and the story is structured. It's just a very different game, and I just didn't like it then. I had that foreknowledge this time, so I don't think it was as big a shock to me. But to answer your question, somewhere in the middle. I want more of one. I still miss a bit of that. I don't miss the inventory management. I hated you got a new gun and armor that you couldn't use. You could just never do anything with it. It was just trash all the time. You were constantly selling it or breaking it down for Omni gels. But I enjoyed a bit of the more minutia, the finer details of 1 point would only give you 2% of something, but you got more points and you couldn't max out everything. That was not an option, which is obviously something you can totally do in Mass Effect 2 and 3. And I like it when they make me leave something behind. Even if it's obvious what I should and shouldn't do, like if I want to play a certain way, I want to be, I want to feel like I made that choice gameplay-wise and mold my character from a mechanic standpoint. So. Yeah,
it's a thing that I've struggled with in a Skyrim where by the end of the game you can be good at everything.
Yeah,
and I like I like that aspect of look, I may have not made all the most optimized decisions, but this is my it helps to me with the ownership of the character. This is my character. I have picked I have done these things, and yes, she may have flaws, but I have figured out how to make it work, and I molded her. I did like the weight system. So 2 to 3 is not a step change like it was 1 to 2. It's a refinement. I really like the addition of the whole weight mechanic.
Yeah, but weight is really good.
Because you walked into 2, and especially in Legendary Edition, where your Shepard could use any weapon without penalties. Now, if you go back to the original, you had penalties in your non-class weapons with aim and whatnot. But where you could now use every weapon to you could only really, unless you were a soldier, you were limited using to two or three weapon types. With some growth allowed if you make certain decisions. 3 was nice. Where it's you can use any weapon, but if you want to walk in there with an armory strapped to your back,
which is cool.
Which is cool, but your cooldown times are you're not going to be biotic charging every couple of seconds here, buddy.
Not at all.
So I do feel like 3 at least I think refined Mass Effect 2's system to its pinnacle. I was pretty happy. I think there were some crap abilities. The whole ammunition abilities in 2 and 3 I thought were pointless and kind of sucked because you had a much wider breadth of abilities. I think playing with your character in Mass Effect 1 and it felt very narrowed to me by and large.
Right, I agree. Yeah, I love the weight system. And I by the end I did appreciate how streamlined everything was because like I say I want more minutia, but would I have gotten through 3 games worth of minutia even with this story? But when I have this awesome story and this awesome everything else, I'm totally okay with like, okay, this is still fun for the most part. This is still engaging, at least on to some degree. Leveling up is still a fun experience. I'm okay if it's just like go to the screen, put in the points, and then move on.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. In 3. Because I think in 2, it was only the final ability in a tree was, hey, pick one or the other. And then 3, it was like,
yes,
every ability beyond that point was one or the other. So there was still some of that you're leaving something behind because you're having to pick one route or the other.
That is true. Of course, you can reset it whenever you want. But I hear what you're saying.
A couple other big things that changed throughout the game. Exploration, obviously. The much maligned Mako. I've been playing too much Final Fantasy VII. But how did you feel about, I guess, how exploration changed in the series as it went?
I mean, it disappears. It all but disappears.
Pretty much.
Like 2 and 3 both have. Well, 2 has a couple places where you go and they act as like hubs, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Omega, the Citadel, and Tachanka is a much smaller one. And so, yeah, you can explore those areas. Everything beyond that can only be accessed as a part of a mission. And then for the most part, they're just hallways that you walk through and you go through the doors. Within those places, there might have been a puzzle here or there. But like I said, for the most part, exploration is just gone. Again, in this one instance, or at least for this particular game and what they were going for, it felt right for me. Like, I hated the exploration in 1. I just didn't do it. After like a couple hours in, I'm like, no, we're not doing side quests in this game. That's going to be the death of me. I'm not going to every little, map interest point on the Mako on the surface of the planet. Screw that. And so I just didn't. I did the main quest for the most part, maybe a couple somewhat interesting side quests, because Mass Effect 1's kind of lacking in that department.
That was something. Yeah, we'll talk about later when we get to the individual games. But yeah, it's interesting. On one hand, I felt like because there's even more of those hubs. You can go back and land at any of the places that you previously land at in Mass Effect 1 for the most part. Obviously, Vermeer, you're not going back to, and by the time you go to Ilos, you're not going anywhere. But so there's this aspect of I'm seeing the galaxy and I'm exploring, and the exploring is super boring. But there's at least like I feel like I'm seeing more, and then that kind of constrained itself in 2 and 3, and
definitely
maybe this game hit at the right time. Over the last couple of years, I've been withdrawing from the big open world games because their open world is almost too much, and so I didn't mind it as much. But looking at it, it's like, man, for as well kind of developed as the Mass Effect universe is, I did feel kind of a shrinking of it, but at the same time, it's not like the Mako really, and laying on the planets and seeing the same cutscene with slightly different fauna for the 20th time really added that much to the game.
Yeah, it's in the same bunker with the same layout inside that bunker with the same generic pirates every single time.
I want to be the company that makes the prefabricated shelters that apparently everybody in the galaxy buys and installs, because clearly they must be rolling in bank because they're the only game in town.
Yep.
And then the last I guess the last thing is kind of I guess there's 2 aspects to it is actually the characters and playing the character. And when I talk about that with playing the character, I mean in Mass Effect 1, there's a much bigger emphasis put on like your Renegade and your Paragon points.
Definitely.
With unlocking those responses, and then there's not the interrupts. The interrupts was that an innovation that came out in Mass Effect 2. That I was thinking back of this. I don't really think Mass Effect 2 does the interrupts great. Whereas Mass Effect 3, I felt like the interrupts. I was like, okay, I think I know if I go Renegade here, what's going to happen. Whereas 2, it was like, all right, I might be snarky, or I might throw them out the window.
Right. It was a bit ham-fisted and chaotic for sure. At least you always knew what you were going to do with Paragon. You were always going to just like diffuse the situation. Every now and then you might diffuse it with violence, but it was still like a controlled violence, a level-headed violence.
I do enjoy. I mean, not that really any time in the series was Renegade the KOTOR, twirling mustache
Sith,
evil. It was you. No matter what, your Shepard is the good guy or girl. it's just a like, am I a paragon or good, or am I renegade who's going to go do this my own way and my own rules and how I feel like it? And I that is a dynamic that I thought, giving you choice, but not quite to the like the polar extremes that most games that try to give you choice do.
Right. It's very well handled, even to this day, I think. And to be fair, like this kind of choice system doesn't really exist anymore. Like no one likes. It's certainly fallen out of favor. I don't mind it. I've never really had this huge problem with it. I'm sure Jason would be a opponent against it. He'd probably be like, my immersion. I want my RPG. I want to be my own character. I'm like, I don't know. I can do that on my own. And if they give me a couple extra tools to facilitate that, that's great. Not that I don't enjoy Baldur's Gate style RPG or Outer Worlds. Which gives you a lot of choice in your responses, and there's no true morality system. But people do react to your reactions in such a way that there's like this pseudo morality situation. So, like I said, I think they handled it really well throughout the whole series, which is tough, I think. So, kudos, BioWare, kudos.
Yeah, it's so interesting because we've talked about before. Like I don't tend to like as much games where the main character is already kind of defined for me. Mm-hmm. And obviously there's an extent to that with Shepard. But BioWare somehow nailed the line here, but there's enough leeway there for it to still feel like your character, which is
it's a really big box. You're still boxed in, but it's a really big box.
Yeah. And then the last thing that I think is that the series did really well developing over time is interacting with your crew as the game went on.
Crazy
because
good.
in Mass Effect 1, they're basically just info dumps about the history of their species.
Yeah.
And, we get to Mass Effect 3 where you walk up to the bridge at one point and Garrus and Joker are telling jokes about each other's, from each other's species about the other species to each other. And it's just, it's so kind of perfect there by the end of these characters feeling like characters and not just resources for storytelling.
For sure. I mean, there are no words, at least at this moment. Well, it'll probably be easier to talk about it later, but this is the thing that people remember, and I will remember for the rest of my life when I talk about this game. I'll remember some other things. It'll get hazy, though, but like the emotional connection I have to these characters more than any other game I've ever played. Like, I really enjoy characters in the kinds of games I like to play. I do like a predefined character. And that's what these people are. Like, I don't get to choose how Garrus feels about things. I don't get to choose how Tali feels about things, except how she feels about me because she's romanceable. But aside from that, like, these are predefined characters, but the organic way that they get fleshed out, and then some of them over the course of 3 entire games is just, again, there's just nothing like it. Nobody has done anything like this, not even BioWare since. Like, BioWare has tried, and they can't replicate it.
Yeah, I mean, for the flaws that exist in this series, there's a definite lightning in the bottle they got here that they have just, even with the better parts of Dragon Age, just do not stand up.
Not at all.
All right. Enough gushing about the series in general. Let's get down to some nitty gritties. As opposed, or at least we're going to attempt to, as opposed to our previous Spoilercast, not summarize the entirety of all 3 games.
That'd take too long.
Because if we did that, we would have to not go to work tomorrow, and then basically not see our wives until this time tomorrow evening.
24-hour podcast. Should have done it live.
We should have streamed it. We would have never stopped. We would only be able to drink breaks when people donated enough. It would have been torture for Jason, but it would have been a great experience.
He would get so many donations through his sheer force of need for drink breaks. Sean, so tell me, how did you give me the high level of the character you made at the beginning and how you intended to play them, and then how they went through, this game and then into the future, I guess. Well, since this is the first game, we'll start with that here.
Sure. So I created Samantha Shepard was my Shepard. She, strangely enough, ended up looking quite like Amy Pons, if you've watched Doctor Who.
I don't think I've seen your Shepard. You'll have to take a picture and send it to me.
I'll send you a picture sometime. But she's got the braid, the few stray hairs in the front. I played a colonist, and then what's a lone survivor.
Gotcha.
And so my Shepard, because colonist is like your colony got attacked by slavers and basically wiped out except for you, and then lone survivor is you join the military and the place where you were stationed got attacked and everybody wiped out except for you. So my Shepard struggled in the beginning with connections, which played to the fact that I really did not intend on romancing anyone in the first game. And I have a hilarious story on how that went for me. But my Shepard was supposed to be a little bit wounded, a little bit like guarded, but also still, she's a colonist, so she's an optimist for the future of humanity and humanity's role in the galaxy. So I was always going to play this Shepard largely Paragon. But I wasn't. I certainly didn't go in this like, I'm going to pick every Paragon choice, and I'm going to do every Paragon. I was like, no, there's some definite moments where my Shepard, especially as she went along and cut her teeth on the galaxy a little bit, where she was like, nope, not taking this crap. And I had some fun with some particular renegade interrupts. What about you, Karch?
I went male Shep. And then I think it's Spacer, the one where you're like a military lifer, your parents are in it, and so you join up. Is that
Spacer?
Spacer. Okay, that's what I thought. And then
get the
Ruthless.
phone call from your mom.
Yeah, I did get the phone call from my mom. And then I picked Ruthless for like the background or the motivation thing, whatever they called that part.
War hero.
What?
Where like you sacrificed a bunch of people.
Yeah,
and
there was like some Batarian slavers, and they had a bunch of civilians, hold up, and we were going to get them out no matter the cost, and it cost a lot of my men. And I was lauded for my decision, but people definitely bring it up with like, man, that was quite a choice you made there throughout basically the entire series, which I always thought was fun. Like they don't pay a lot of attention to it, but they never forget the choices you made at that very first screen, which is a very nice touch. And then I didn't settle in on Paragon or Renegade at the beginning. I said I was going to play Ruthless, but I wasn't going to play Renegade just to do it. I wanted to be that guy who would do what it took. And then also I wanted to play it very like I am a military man. Now the game really lets you do that in some ways, and then it really doesn't in others. I was surprised at how quote unquote ruthless the Paragon could be sometimes. And so I ended up being Paragon for the most part, because again, like Shepard is like, he's not cruel, and I didn't want to be cruel. I just wanted to, again, we're space and war.
And Paragon Shepard has a lot of like, we're going to do this my way, because my way is the best way.
Right. And maybe I don't kill somebody. Okay, sure, that's fine. I didn't need to kill that guy. That wasn't the mission. It doesn't further the goal. And if I can save that life, I will. Or if I can follow due process at that point, let's do that. So it was just easy enough eventually to just pick Paragon for the most part on everything. I still ended up getting quite a few Renegade points, like maybe not 75% of the possible points, but more than 50. So.
Oh wow, yeah, I was like probably 90% full, if not all the way full on Paragon, and probably like 30% on Renegade.
Cool.
How many times did you hang up on the console?
Hang up on the console? Maybe
after
once.
The missions?
I don't know if I ever did though.
I think I did it after Vermeer, because I was just like, nope. Shepard is in no mood to be questioned after Ashley is dead.
For sure. Ashley? No. We killed. I did. Kaden.
What do you have against a wet paper towel?
I hate wet paper towels. I hate Karth. Karth Onassi is this really pissant, holier-than-thou, self-righteous douchebag pilot in KOTOR, if you've never played it. And the same guy voices Kaden, what's-his-face, in Mass Effect 1. Alenko. And he's practically the same exact character. It's like they just said, hey, let's make Karth this guy too. And I'm like, why would you do that? And so I made sure he died.
You know what would have been funny is when you have your confrontation with him in the third game. If he had just said, nope, I'm not doing this, and ran away, never to be seen again.
That'd have been hilarious.
All right, getting back to Mass Effect 1. What did you think of, I guess, the main story of the game?
It's good. I was familiar with it, so it was more of just a retread, greasing the wheels, let's get on to the new stuff kind of situation. But I definitely felt I took the time to soak in it, and you have a little note here. It says established a great universe. Man, did it. It never feels quite as like uniquely Mass Effect as it does in this first game. There is just a je ne sais quoi that never quite gets captured again in 2 or 3. It takes on this new identity, and it's still very Mass Effect, and it's unique to Mass Effect, but there is just something about 1. It's a little Star Trek, it's a little Star Wars, it's a little something else entirely. The track, the soundtrack in general just sets the mood so well no matter where you go. It's unrealistic. And the Mass Effect stuff is unrealistic, the ability to travel, but everything else is totally believable.
And what's great is the moment that you go, okay, I accept the Mass Effect exists, because a lot of the technology works off that.
Right.
But once you say, once you just have to believe that first bit, this exists, and then everything else is pretty much like, yeah, okay, if this existed, that would 100% work.
Which is just light speed travel, or faster than light speed travel, which is the thing that gets brought up in stuff all the time. But everything, yeah, exactly. It's so easy to just fall into this world because, okay, these are just people. There's a blue lady, and that's a lizard man over there, and that's a frog guy, but they're just people at the end of the day with their stupid petty governments and their stupid petty problems and pirates and soldiers. And yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's to me of all the games in the series, this was the most like the space voyage. It's the most we're going on a quest. And you're right. It's almost fantastical in that sense, where it's almost the hero's journey type. It's very easy to put this in parallel, a hero's journey type story to a T. The high fantasy almost, while still being a perfect candidate of sci-fi, where for sci-fi everything still has to be once you accept a certain conceits, it has to operate within its allowable laws. And while I lambasted the portrayal of the characters a little bit earlier, for basically being there just to establish their races, what is great is the fact that because this is the first game and you're learning about all those races for the first time, it's such a I remember it both times because there's a long enough gap that I'd forgotten so much. You're like walking around and I'm like a child, it's just like you're seeing the world for the first time.
Yeah.
Like this, everything is new and amazing, and that to me that largely carries that game.
Definitely,
it is fun, but I mean, and learning, the few twists in there are fun. Where okay, yeah, Saren's the bad guy. Oh, actually, Saren is working for for Sovereign, which is a Reaper, and he's trying to bring back the Reapers. Is a perfectly functional story, but it is elevated by the world itself.
Yeah, it's I mentioned earlier I love my sword and sorcery, but there's a bit that genre is riddled with cliches. You might switch it up here and there. The dwarves might not be the bearded, short, warrior focused, honor bound, greedy people, but they almost always are, and the elves are almost the elves. Everything's kind of in its place, and it's like I've seen this before. And maybe this is kind of true with certain sci-fi. I'm not super into sci-fi, but if I had to guess, I'd say the answer is no. Nobody knew the Krogan archetype. They're a warrior race, and that's as old as time in storytelling, but everything must have been new to everybody when they were playing this. And that's, I think, I think you understand that when you play it too. It's there is just hey, nobody's done something like this before. This is really unique.
For all of them being essentially humanoids, there's unique races, and you talked about the Krogan and their story. Theirs and the Quarians
so good
set up here.
So good.
The Krogan with the genophage and the whole kind of barbaric but tragedy to their race, which ends up being a central decision throughout the course of the series on you doing things. And then the Quarians and the whole establishing why the entire galaxy fears AIs.
Yes,
because these Quarians went and did a thing and created AIs by accident and got almost wiped out and driven off of their home world. That's the thing too. Is it's that beautiful. There's a galaxy here, and yes, there's some arguments to be made of humans have only been in the galaxy for several decades, and yet they're already running major corporations and blah blah blah. But there's also there's definite history and a lived-inness, not in the same way you see with Star Wars, but this is an established galaxy that has existed. That doesn't feel like it was just made for this game and things went forward. It feels like no, that this is actually the real could be a real history.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the human stuff goes, I think it's pretty clear that they're upstart. I think every character makes sure to mention how fragile humanity still is in a sense. Obviously we're operating within a civilized galaxy, but if they wanted to, the Asari could turn and crush us. if they wanted to, the Imperial, Turians could turn around and probably just wipe out humanity. They didn't.
The remaining Krogans could probably wipe out
exactly, but we're a little cocksure, big for our britches, and isn't that always the case with humans in any kind of like fictional media with other races? That's the way it's just the way we are.
And it's a central thing that you kind of get to make the decision with your Shepard throughout on this, like, am I the human who's like humanity has a place in the galaxy and it's working with the other species, or like humanity is going to come and dominate the galaxy?
Yeah, that was another angle I tried to play really, really hard to do, but I wanted to be human first, but not human only, if that makes sense. But you
that's
can't
not
quite
really
settle
in that one.
No, it didn't work. But I wanted to be a paragon of humanity, not necessarily of intelligent life. I don't like how big and broad the game gets by the end. Like, by the end, it's clear that we're going to be talking to like galaxy-wide problems. I wish it had stayed smaller and then given maybe a second trilogy or the series of Groom to Grow, because it ends with a bang and there's just nothing else to do except go to literally a different galaxy, which is what they do with Andromeda. Like, there's nothing left to tell here, so let's just go over here now. And I wish that hadn't happened.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it's a theme that I'll bring up probably two more times, for once in each game. There are certain kind of mysteries of the universe or of this galaxy that they ultimately tell, like they reveal to you, that I think are lessened. And because like the mystery of the Prometheans throughout the entirety of the first game and the vast majority of the second game is awesome. And then you kind of learn more about the Prometheans, and you're like, all right, they're not as cool now. And the Reapers, kind of suffer the same problem. Everything's on the, those type of things are on the fringes, and it's that old adage, I think, of there's nothing greater than what you can make in your own mind, and so I always felt it was going to be a mistake to delve more deeply into those, but I also understood why they did.
Sure, makes sense. Totally makes sense.
Any favorite standout moments for you in the first one?
I love those first 3 hours. Just those first 3 hours are so good. Everything else is fine. Like, it's fine to good, but the first 3 hours are amazing. Being on the Citadel until you take off with what'll be your crew minus Liara, because you'll pick her up on basically a side quest later. But yeah, meeting everybody. It's a little ham-fisted, but it also feels kind of organic at the same time. Like, as you're just trying to deliver some messages, basically, and have some meetings, and then as you're doing, you keep bumping into these people, and it's like, all right, tag along, I guess.
Yes.
And then it's like, I'm a Spectre now, you want to come with? It's like, yeah, okay. I could use a adventure or something, I don't know.
You like to kill people, right?
And we already said it a couple times, the characters aren't necessarily quite as fleshed out, but the dialogue is always really, really good. And it makes those characters super believable, even if their motivations are pretty expository. Keith David as Captain Anderson. Keith David has one of the best voices in the business, and he plays his character so well. Even if he really hates Saren, I think Captain Anderson's hatred of Saren is a bit silly.
Does.
It's a bit silly. But it ends up being justified, I guess, in the end, so it's fine. But he hates Saren so much.
I love. I think one of my favorite moments in the game is in Vermeer, right before you're gonna go and actually attack Saren's base, and you have to go confront Rex.
Yes,
and Rex has that line there of basically like, hey Shepard, he's trying to cure the plague of my people. The line between friend and foe is getting pretty thin here, and you have to talk Rex down.
It's really good.
Or if you're a terrible human being, you can either kill Rex or have Ashley come and kill Rex for you.
Oh, that's disgusting. That's disgusting. And anybody who does that, I think I saw the poll. They had the data on people and what they chose. Almost nobody did that. Universally, everybody saves Rex because why wouldn't you? Because the Genophage is easily one of the best storylines in the entire game trilogy. It's the best handled, and probably the most poignant. It's just that I felt the most for. I'm like, this is wrong. There's no gray about this. I can understand decisions made about it, but it is clear as day to me what should be done about it now. And so I felt for him.
You got to fight the Reapers.
Yeah, exactly. Gotta fight the Reapers.
I love Uncle Erdnot, and I think the vast majority of the community does too.
Rex.
Shepard. Any final thoughts here on Mass Effect 1?
Well, we talked about a little bit Vermeer. Vermeer is where you make the decision for Ashley, or is it Ilos?
Vermeer.
Yep. So there's a bomb. It's pretty anticlimactic, actually. Like, at some point, though, like, you have to make a decision early on when you get to that planet about picking teams, like who's going to go where and do what. Yep. Seemingly no big deal. This happens in games a lot, actually, especially RPGs. But then at some point, the person you didn't take with you has to do something with a bomb, and they're going to die. You don't have time to do the thing you need to do and save them. And you have to say, oh no, you have to choose who you're going to save, basically. That's what it is.
It's the bomb with one person's getting overrun, and then like the position of the other one with the Solarians, the special task group Solarians, is getting also overrun, and you have to pick, do I and who's at which depends on that first decision you talked about.
Right.
You then have to pick one or the other. And it's somewhat clear that like they're going to die, but it's also not like 100% clear.
Right, they could make it out.
A decision that's going to kill the other.
Yeah, they could totally make it out in like what usually happens in most Hollywood movies and video games in general. But one of them does die, and you pick to save one. You're obviously going to save one right away. That's clear enough. And it could be Ashley or Kaiden. Kaiden. And they both suck.
You killed him, so you never heard his name.
I never heard his name. I probably talked to him beyond the mandatory conversations twice. Once I realized he was just never going to tell me. I didn't want to care. I didn't care about his biotics and his stupid little migraines. I didn't care. But yeah, they're both terrible characters, and not just like the personalities they have, like as far as like what they believe. Because Ashley has her like her human centric racism stuff and that bigotry. Which
and Kaiden's a wet paper towel.
And Kaiden's a wet paper towel. And so they're just boring. They're dull to look at. They're not well designed like a lot of other characters are. They are both romanceable, so if you chose one, then it kind of becomes really easy to get rid of the other one unless you're going for a very dramatic kind of situation. And so it's like, on one hand, oh, cool, way to go, BioWare, for making me like as a party member that I might have like grown attached to, and then, or both for that matter. And you made me choose, but at the same time, I don't know, it's not much of a choice.
No, I mean, and it's interesting because they basically end up becoming the same character throughout the rest of the series.
That too, and they had to do that, and it's like I understand it, but I don't know. I would have done something different. Yeah. I would have killed them both. I don't know. You saved.
Spoiler alert! You did.
That's true. I did. Oh my gosh, that was so satisfying. So you saved Kaiden.
I saved Kaiden and I sacrificed Ashley.
Okay, I did the opposite.
And I did it because of I had sent Ashley to be with the STG because in my mind she's a grunt, she's like a ground combatant. They are going to be doing ground combat. I want her with them. And then that meant that Kaiden was with the bomb, and then it was like, all right, they're both getting overrun and I have to pick one. It's like, I got to defend the bomb. The entire reason I came here was to blow up this base.
Right.
And so it's just the way the decisions played themselves out.
Yeah, I picked Ashley just to be contrary because I know most people let her die because she is so insufferable. I wanted to see what's on the other side. Like, nobody knows because everybody kills her. Turns out nothing. Turns out there's nothing on the other side. They just don't do anything with her, which is such a shame. Mostly because she's just not even in the second game. Even less so than other characters who aren't in the game, Yeah. Like, she shows up for half a sec, gets frozen, and then she just gives you the cold shoulder, which, like you said, so does Kaiden.
Craps over you.
Yeah, exactly. She just poops. And then into the third game, too, like, good riddance to both of them.
Well, apparently in the third game, too, her lead writer had left, which, given the role that she got to play in the second game, makes a bit of sense. And so,
yeah,
that maybe, because her, like, Kaiden's, the story he gets with the whole becoming Spectre, like the second human Spectre nut, makes a bit more sense for Kaiden, and he plays it a bit better than than it made sense for her, I felt.
Yeah, I feel like it makes as much sense as anything else. She's another military brat, but her family's got the legacy of being like the first to surrender to alien forces, and now this is this big honor to like lift the family name back up. I don't know. Like I said, I just didn't find it interesting. It's believable, but really boring. So I did not romance anybody.
I did not intend to romance anybody.
Tell me how this accidentally happened.
So, I was very in touch with like I'm playing my Shepard. I'm playing the responses I think my Shepard would do, and so I thought, and there's some social commentary here about like, oh, if a girl is just being friendly with a guy, the guy takes it takes it that she's interested. Where I thought I was just being friendly with Caden.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out I was romancing Caden.
That's hilarious.
So I got the head off the Ilos, and it was like, here comes the love scene. And I was like, the what? Like,
what?
No.
Get out of my cabin.
How did this happen?
This is an order.
And then the downside was I had to have his stupid freaking portrait on my table, on my captain's desk the entire second game.
Bet you wish you'd killed him.
I do a little bit.
Exactly. I think that happened. I was watching somebody stream this. Like I was watching after the fact. I didn't finish their entire playthrough, but at one point they were playing FemShep as well, and like again the same thing. They were talking to Caden, and things just started getting romantic. He's like, "No, I did not mean that. Stop! I'm going to shut this down. I'm never talking to you again."
Yep, I should have.
Oh well.
I would have been open to romancing Liara. And all the romances in the first one suffer from this, but Liara's is particularly bad, where like she gets on the ship and she was like, Hey,
I know. It's like she's got to make up for lost time.
And you're like, you got to slow down. Like
I did. I told her.
I just saved you, and no.
I don't know if you shut her down in the beginning like that, if you can reignite it later. If I ever play through again, I will romance Liara. Give it that old canon shot, because I wanted Tali, but I don't know if Tali's a minor when she first jumped on the board. That's kind of weird if she is, because they kind of refer to her as definitely being young, if not too young.
She's just past minor because she's just starting her pilgrimage.
Okay, yeah. But she's also Aquarian, and that complicates any kind of long-term intimate relationship, because they can't get out of their suits without getting really sick.
And they're dextrose, so you can't even eat the same food.
That too, yeah. Which is what, like Turians, basically?
Turians and Quarians are dextrose, yeah.
Right. But yeah, I like Tali a lot. Liara was fine, and I definitely didn't want to romance Ashley. That was never going to happen, whether I left her alive or not. And so I didn't romance anybody in the first one. And then I thought maybe I'd go the whole series not doing it, because I was kind of like, I was also playing my Shepard on the older side. He was balding quite a bit. He only had the hair left, on his sides and the sideburns, that kind of stuff. And, maybe like 45 or so. And who wants an old man who's just, trying to live out the rest of his workable years in the military before he retires? But yeah, nobody in the first game.
So, yeah, accidental Caden. It was it was tragic.
So we both saved Rex. What other big decisions can you make in that at the end?
Let's see, you can save Rex.
There's the final battle stuff with the council.
Yeah.
I accidentally killed the council. I didn't want to. I didn't quite understand what I was being asked to do.
Okay.
Like, I thought... there was a really obvious... There were like 3 choices, if I'm not mistaken. One is definitely save the council. One is definitely say, sorry, council, but we're going to protect the human fleet. And then there was like a middle one. I thought I could get... I wasn't trying to play both sides. I just didn't want them to die, but I didn't want to like kiss their feet and, kiss the ring, because I didn't like necessarily like the council. But oops. I also just definitely didn't want Udina to be the ambassador at any cost, and I definitely made sure that Anderson was.
Yeah, I would definitely say outside of the, like, I'm trying to be a terrible human being playthrough, I can't imagine almost anyone picks Udina, because he just played to be a jerk that entire game.
Yes. He's such an a-hole.
I saved the console and the what's the ship called?
I forget.
It'll come to me here in a little bit. Mm-hmm. The Destiny Ascension.
Nailed it. Nice.
I convinced Saren to shoot himself in the head, which is always a bit of like, oh, all right.
I don't remember. I don't think I did that.
You can convince him, and you avoid. So that final scene, if you don't convince him to shoot himself, you do like a fighting regular Saren fight, and then you have the fight where he's taken over by Sovereign.
I did the regular one, yeah.
Yeah, so you can convince him to shoot himself in the head and jump straight to the Sovereign fight.
Interesting.
Yeah. Where Saren's like, oh god, you're right. I have been indoctrinated, and I'm helping destroy the galaxy. Thank you, Shepard. Bang.
Oh, hooray! Cool, suicide!
And then you send one of your party members to go down and shoot him, and then he still gets back up later. It's like, no, I double tapped. You're not allowed to get back up. You're breaking the rules.
Breaking the rules.
I did enjoy the final the battle of the Citadel. I felt the game did very good. That by that point,
it was really cool.
I felt so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
We both played Vanguards
the whole way through.
So we were basically just in the first game, barrier up and walk in with a shotgun. Let's do this. And just like blasting away Geth and being like, yeah, no, you can't hurt me. This is great. I'm unstoppable. Was very rewarding, especially just walking around with like as FemShep. I did many. I rotated it, but my go-to if I thought it was gonna be tough was to go with my boys and walk in there with Garrus and Rex and just be like, all right, guys, take care of this for me, would you?
Pretty much.
Because they are, especially Rex, is pretty unstoppable. In the first
He
game.
just doesn't die.
No, he's great,
especially on normal.
No. All right, so that's Mass Effect 1, a great space journey story that ends with Sovereign being blown up into pieces.
Yep, fairly easily too. I mean, all things considered, compared to later when it's kind of impossible.
Where apparently Reapers are impossible to destroy.
I mean, there's more of them, and so that makes it harder. But
whereas the thing about that too, it always struck me because it very much zeroes in on like Joker flying to Normandy, and it's like, it did like Joker trench run this? Is that what happened? Like, did he trench run and blow up Sovereign? Like,
Womp rat,
good job. Chooping Womp rats back home at my T16. All right, we jump to Mass Effect 2, which kicks off like a couple months later, I think.
6 months, I think.
6 months,
maybe.
And Shepard dies. Like that's
so
it's
stupid.
Like you're going around doing stuff with Geth, and the collectors show up, and you get utterly owned. And Shepard dies.
This will never not rub me the wrongest of ways. I hate this idea so much. I hate it so much.
Well, you had a theory that you postulated that you think that you were not supposed to play Shepard this game. That they were going to make a new protagonist.
I do. I think that you practically, like, I don't know what that might have looked like, how far they got, or what the future of the third game would have looked like. Like, maybe Shepard still dies, and then you pick up with this. I don't know anything beyond the fact that this just smacks of we had this idea, and then we had the backpedal, and so we're just gonna make up this hoopy goopy dumb ridiculous reason that Shepard can come back, not just from he didn't just die on the operating table and then an hour later someone had some cool science and brought the guy was literally incinerated. There was nothing left except
was in space going down towards a planet, so you're suffocating because your suit's jetting oxygen, and then you're basically going through re-entering a planet in nothing but your suit. There is no Shepard left.
All they have is your DNA. They literally only have
too.
What?
You would have impacted the Earth at some point too, whatever was left.
And there's this hand wave later on where Liara is the one who finds you, and then she gives you to Cerberus, which is just so this. None of this tracks with the good writing we've seen so far, and we'll see throughout the rest of this game. And then we almost never. I mean, I know they touch on it just a little bit, but this should be an enormous plot point. Coming back from the dead. Literal resurrection, scientifically enabled resurrection, should be an enormous plot point. What does it mean to be alive anymore? What is this?
It's we did Project Lazarus, and basically it'll never happen again.
And I get it. It's expensive and it's shadowy, and and the people in charge of it are about to go insane, with power and other things, and so it kind of makes sense, but it just. Oh, I hate it so much. Hate it.
What drove me, and I'll come right out and say, Mass Effect 2 is my least favorite game of the three.
I don't know if I can say
it's
that.
Tough because it's got great characters, and all the character and then the character loyalty missions are fantastic.
So good.
But one of the things that really rubbed me the wrong way was, in addition to the fact that people should be flipping about the Lazarus projects, your Shepard should be freaking out about I have come back from the dead, and also
2
I'm
years.
with Cerberus.
It's been 2 years later, right?
Yeah,
2 whole years.
You've missed 2 years, and also it's Cerberus, which Cerberus was the people that you walked into the building and they were breeding Rachni and experimenting on people. Every mission with the side quest mission with Cerberus in the first game is they are incompetent mad scientists doing ridiculous stuff that they should not be doing, and now you're oh yeah, I guess I work for Cerberus now. You never, barring the hey, screw you, elusive man, I'm blowing up the collector base at the end. You never get to have you can be yeah, I'm working with Cerberus, but or you can have the like, yeah, I agree with Cerberus, but there's no like, I'm only doing this because I don't have like, you never get the role play the like, no, Cerberus is evil and I want nothing to do with them. But like, they couldn't let you do that because it would have like you making that decision right in the beginning. Like it's
game over.
Wasn't set up to let you do that. It would have ended the game.
Like, there's no motivation. There's no motivation for you to joining Cerberus. There's no motivation for you specifically. They never said, maybe it's an extra material. I don't know what you've been doing until you get blown up by the collectors. But like, why am I so mad at humanity and the Alliance and Citadel space? Like, why do I feel rejected? I died. Like, of course things are going to be weird. And like, and for what? A couple human what's the colonies are getting abducted. Like, all right, sure. If I'm a bleeding heart, I might go run after a couple hundred people getting like abducted. But we're talking about like thousands, maybe tens of thousands in a sea of billion. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and so that's where 2 falls apart for me. Is I don't want to say the main story because arguably the main story of 2 is it can also be all the story, getting your crew. But like the collector missions, the collector missions just all fall flat for me.
They're stupid. They're boring.
With obviously with the exception of the suicide mission, which is freaking amazing.
It's so cool.
But like the collector missions are boring, and then like even the like the collectors are actually like the Prometheans, except they're kind of not because they're really just like mindless drones that it's like I don't care, guys. Like just tell me that the Reapers made the collectors and left them in the galaxy to be used. All right, cool, whatever. Like it's such a like all right.
I like that
yeah,
part.
I guess.
I like that reveal. I think it was cool.
I like the idea that like, hey, they used the DNA of the Protheans, but it's played off like they are the Protheans. It's like, no, they're not.
They're not.
They're just experiments of the Reapers.
There's
like,
literally nothing left. That's some anime nonsense where the characters like, or every zombie movie, it's like, oh, I can't kill him, even though they're like half dead, slobbering, mindless creature. It's like, I don't think anyone actually has that problem, but they do try to dramatize it up a bit instead of just making it what it should be, which is like a horrifying realization.
Yeah, this is what the Reapers will do to us if they win. Like that, which to me that's good. But and then the final thing is like, in part, like I liked interrupt. I liked the concept of interrupts, but oh my lord, it was like a roll of the dice every time I did a freaking.
Sometimes I wouldn't do
interrupt. Them. Like I was like, I remember doing like it was an early one, and I did it, and Shepard like snapped the guy's neck, and I was like, okay, that was not where I expected this to go.
Yeah, and
however, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say one more thing to get, like, negative thing to get out of the way before we talk about all the greatness of this game, because it's really good at the end. It is just too edgy. It came out during a time where this kind of thing was super popular, but all of a sudden this game just got, like, too cool for school, and I hated the first few hours. It was the exact opposite of the first one, which I loved the first few hours, and then it petered out. This one just sucked so hard at the beginning, and it was really close to me just not wanting to play it. But I kept it through, or I kept going, and then about like a third or halfway through, I was just like, I am all in on this game. I get it now. Let's go. Suicide mission.
When it became, hey, like I'm most of the missions I have left are being knocking out loyalty missions.
Right.
Like, it is fun and it is great. But yeah, that early part is like, oh, all right. And it doesn't help that like Jacob is essentially your new Caden. Like I like Jacob, but he is the like doesn't really have that tragic of a backstory.
It's so untragic.
And then Miranda annoyed me because she's such a word I won't say on this podcast that starts with a B to you, and then there's never like a reckoning, just like, and then just suddenly your conversation become like me and Shepard are best friends, and I was like, no,
yeah, she just softens.
Just like you were terrible and stuck up, and all right, fine.
Still
whatever,
technically working for Cerberus. At some point, like it's just like this unspoken thing, I think, where she's supposed to be like, I'm not with him anymore, but let's not say it out loud so I don't get in trouble. Yeah. Like it's like I'm on your team now. Love the new Normandy. Yeah. Love that new ship. Ooh,
oh yeah,
so good.
SR2 is great. I did enjoy. So, my Shepard in Mass Effect 1 was still very much in the military. Plus, I think with the exception of being on the ship, like when you went into town, you were always wearing all your weapons and whatnot, which changed as the series went on. As going to town, going to Citadel and whatnot. I loved the N7 hoodie, and I would just like I was like, one benefit: if I'm not in the military anymore, don't have to wear a uniform. I'm gonna wear this hoodie all the time. So my Shepard was, at least in her dress code, the most chill in the 3 games.
I wore my tuxedo the whole game.
I think I told you before, FemShep has a little black cocktail dress, and I was not going to wear that the entire game.
No, it's too informal. Even for no longer in the military Shepard.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some good stuff. What did you like about this game?
I loved the headbutting Renegade interrupt when Reeve or other jerk Krogan spoke meanly to my test tube Krogan son.
I think I missed that one.
It is my favorite interrupt in the entire game, where he is like basically like, he can't do that, and you just rear, and like 5 minutes earlier Rex had headbutted the same Krogan, so you just rear back and headbutt him, and Shepard like headbutts, and everyone's just quiet, and Shepard just like nonchalantly reaches up and like rubs the back of her neck like, ow. And he's just like, what did you just do? and the shaman's just like, I like this human.
Well done.
So that might be, that's definitely my favorite interrupt in the entire series, and one of the moments where I was like, yeah, the most.
Krogan for life.
Krogan for life. It's the biggest flaw of Mass Effect 3, that I don't have a Krogan in the party. And on this, I loved the party. And the party's huge.
It's really big
compared to the other 2 games. It's massive.
Stupidly big.
12
but it doesn't
characters?
feel that big.
No.
Awesome. Yeah, it's like 12 or 13 characters.
Yeah, the fact that you essentially get 2 missions, 2 guaranteed missions, because you get the I'm recruiting you, and then the loyalty mission for every character. So it forces you to spend time in a kind of tailored environment with that character. So you really get to spend time and get to know those characters.
Yeah, those are like, I guess you could call them the loyalty missions. Well, you only have to acquire some of them. And then you get another like round of dossiers, and I don't think you have to go get all of them. And then you certainly don't have to do anybody's loyalty mission. That's a big part of the suicide mission later. But I found myself wanting to do every single one of them, and I never want to do all the side quests, especially for the characters I find a little less interesting. But man, if this game didn't make me want to just find out more, and I don't think any of them were disappointing except Jacob's and Zaid's.
Jacob's was weird. Zaid's was just bland.
It is really bland. He's a DLC character, so we can let that slide.
Yeah. But he's got a great voice.
He does have a great voice, and he's very reminiscent of what's the Mandalore guy?
Dang it.
He's from KOTOR. He's the Mandalorian from KOTOR. Very similar vibes from both of those characters. Anyway.
Yep.
But yeah, who do you get back? You get not Kasumi. That's
you get Garrus and Tali return.
Right.
And that's it. That's it from the original game, right?
And then everybody else is brand new. So you love those characters? Too bad. Here's some completely different characters. You're not even sure you're going to get Tali because you meet her really early on before you start recruiting people.
Yeah. And then she's like, "It's great to see you," and leaves. And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. And then later on,
and I knew, I was like, I know I had Tali in the party, but I guess
maybe
I picked the wrong dialogue choice.
And then you get Garrus eventually, but you're not sure it's Garrus until like you really get there and like, oh, this guy I was supposed to find who was under a code name like Angel or something like that.
Archangel.
Archangel, that's right. It's actually Garrus, just killing mooks inside of Omega. So yeah, but every single one of those recruits and every single one of those loyalty missions were really, really fun. Did you feel compelled at all? So they take the choice out of this game. Like the choice exists, but the choice is clearly like, do this or play incorrectly, Did you ever feel like, even from a roleplay standpoint, that you were supposed to do something that wouldn't have garnered their loyalty?
No, I felt my entire purpose was to get their loyalty.
Yeah, and I feel like, A, that's just the gamer in us, but B, I think they were just too well written. Like, there wasn't a single character who you couldn't like feel for and want to, or whose story wasn't interesting.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't get to see the full extent of it. Like even Miranda, like you said, she's a bee, and her motivations and there's no explanation to like why she becomes friendly with you for the most part, except spending time on the crew. But I'm like, but her, it's like, I have a baby sister that I don't even really know. Like she's my genetic twin, and that's about all the connection I have. But I hate my dad so much that I need to do everything in my power to keep him from her. And that was just a really cool thing to help her with. And it's like, I can't say no to that. I got to help you.
Yeah. Yeah. There was never in my mind that I wasn't going to do someone's loyalty mission.
Maybe Morden. Almost maybe. Not that I wouldn't do it, but that I would do a thing. Like, I could see myself not siding with Morden.
Yeah, Morden's interesting, too, because I left off Mass Effect 2 and Morden with him being like, Genophage was the right decision. I do, like, and...
I think that's how it always goes. I think he
did regret it. And then...
Yeah,
because then you find him in 3, and he was like, Genophage was not a great decision. We need to undo Genophage. And you're
right.
Like,
so good.
That's what I want to do. So yeah, you want to agree with me? Great.
Morden, hands down, my favorite new character. Maybe my favorite character in the whole series.
Morden's great. Grunt's so interesting in Mass Effect 2 to 3 because he becomes very cartoony essentially in 3.
So cartoony.
Whereas he's this like grunt. You know, he's very angry and doesn't know who he is in 2. And then, which is fun, and again, it's done well. And you're like, this is a big Krogan, and I need this guy. He does have a great line. If you take, so I ran the suicide mission twice. But there's a scene there where you're going with the rest of the party, and you call back, and someone will call in about how they're holding the line, and there's a lot of collectors, and they're getting overrun. And the first time I did that, it was Thane. And then I took Thane the second time I ran the mission, and it was Grunt instead. And he has this great, whereas like Thane was like, it's getting pretty dicey. Like he's like, hurry up, Shepard. Hold up. Grunt is just like, it's glorious, Shepard. They keep coming, and I'm just mowing them down. You're missing it. You're like, oh, all right. Have fun, Grunt. Good for you.
Yeah. Early Grunt sucks, but it's also very like believable, like the way his character progresses until, the end of the third game, really. And like him being cartoony fits. Like in another game or another character, they're like this. They kind of ruined it, or they took it too far. No, this is Grunt. Like this is Grunt fully realized it's a Krogan of Clan Urdnot. This makes total sense. He's just a big old teenager, basically.
I liked Thane as a character.
Thane is up there too. It might be a tie between Thane and Morden, honestly.
Thane was a little rough for me, so because I was like, Thane's pretty great. Like I could romance Thane in this game, but the line to start the romance with Thane, like the first time you had a line where like, that's a flirt line, was like, I want you, Thane, and I was like, nope, not picking that one. That's not how my Shepard would talk.
It's too forward.
And it was also like, we just talked about your dead wife. It seems like a bad time to tell you this. But yeah, his story, the Keprel syndrome is, I mean, it really,
he's a dying man.
Yeah, he's a dying man. Yeah, he's your, oh my God, what's his name? Tombstone.
Oh,
Doc Holliday.
Yes.
But not, because he's basically dying of tuberculosis is what it sounds like.
Yeah, reptile space tuberculosis.
Yeah. But also, much, clearly, and is as a result, has been trying to like put his life together and kind of redeem himself. So I really enjoyed his story. And then his loyalty mission of having to kind of save his son was, to me, was very touching.
It's so like big assassin man, and it's so small potatoes. Some people have some big ones, others have smaller ones too, like his, and his is so like small and intimate, and it's nice. And you get to work with Bailey. I like Bailey a lot, the Citadel CSEC security head guy,
Commander Bailey,
and they bring him back in 3, and that's a lot of fun too. He's just oh, hey Shepard, it's me, Bailey, blah blah blah, all the time. He's
such just like a, oh my God, there's so much work to do. Yeah, I'm a good guy at heart. I'm just a little run down.
Yeah, he's got massive. This is my like 1 month before retirement energy.
Yeah. Like, and it's because I remember I met Bailey, and it's like, oh, are you gonna be like the corrupt cop? I gotta like freaking work.
That's
with
what I
and
thought
smack
too.
around
Yeah.
a bit, and then it turns out no, he's the cop with the heart of gold who's just been doing this too long, and he's just like, yeah, we're gonna have to do that. I'll help you out, even though it's probably a ton of paperwork and a pain in the butt for him, but it's the right thing to do. Let's do it. Yeah. Thanks, Bailey. Thanks. I never even met you. You're really kind of sticking your neck out for me, man.
Totally. Before we get to the suicide mission.
Yep.
Combat changed significantly. I know we talked about it a little bit, so we don't have to like really dwell on it, but how did you like or not like the combat change to this game?
I am so when I played this game back in the day, I played soldier throughout the entire series. So like soldier, man. I got a bunch of guns and I'm going to shoot things, and I've got some abilities to make my guns hit harder.
Right.
playing the Vanguard, where we'd wrapped up Mass Effect 1, and like the name of the game was click on barrier, maybe throw a throw or throw a lift as you're closing with your shotgun and shotgun things. And here it was like, I don't have barrier anymore.
So dumb.
And it took me a while to figure out, and eventually you can get barrier back if you do Jacob's mission.
Yeah, Jacob has it.
But it took me a while to figure out how to use biotic charge properly. In fact, you were the one who finally
because I had the same problem. Yeah.
And you commented on that you'd figured it out, and then I was still struggling a bit, and then I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Once I figured out biotic charge, I loved combat too. The whole like get in there, shotgun. I'm getting a little low on shields, charge into a guy, shotgun that guy, or they introduced the heavy melee attack in this one, which was always like cathartic to sit there and my Shepard give her a little like rah! And charge, and then have another like rah! and nail them with the heavy hit, shotgun a couple more, and then charge the next person, because my by the end of the game I had like a 2-second cooldown on biotic charge, and it was like, all right, I got this. I get how this works now, and I found it a very cathartic combat experience. Same.
Hated it at first. I also hated the ammo. They added ammo back instead of the cooldown on the guns, or rather the overheat function. I thought that was way better and more elegant. I guess they were just going for something different. I feel like they could have kept that throughout the whole series and everything would have been fine.
Yeah, the ammo always struck me as annoying too, because it was like like I had a couple occasions where I did run out of ammo, but very rarely, because it's just scattered everywhere. Very rarely did I ever run out of ammo. So it was like I don't beyond the problem being that like the shotgun has three shots before you have to dip your thermo clip, and having to be concerned about I gotta wait the time to reload, but. I didn't feel like it really changed. It would have changed the game that much to have just left it the way it was.
Yeah, I never ran out of ammo in 2. I almost always ran out of ammo in 3. I feel like I was just always I was always looking for ammo. I should say there was always ammo around, like you said, but I always had to go find it. I was definitely running out in that one. It had a bit of an impact in that game.
Yeah, and maybe that was again, that refinement of 3. They're like, well, if we're gonna do ammo, we have to make it like where they actually have to worry about it, and then maybe they tweaked it a bit.
Definitely felt like enemies were too spongy in that one. But yeah, once you figure out how charge actually works, because the wording's weird. I just assumed that all the shield was going into me and like I could overflow, but that's not how it worked. But once I figured out how charge worked, and then yes, you can eventually unlock the loyalty abilities, which is just a fun another little perk. Like do this loyalty mission. Yeah, okay, they're loyal to you, but also you can use their signature ability now. It's like, oh, cool. Oh, there's barrier. Thanks, Jacob. Huh. Of course, I did Jacob like second to last. So
I realized that he had barrier, and I was like, all right, son, come on, hurry up. Let's go see your weirdo
figure out
your daddy issues. I need this barrier to keep playing this game, buddy.
Doesn't even have daddy issues. Ugh. Favorite loyalty mission? Which one was it?
I like Tali's.
Whose?
Tali's.
Oh, Tali. I think he said Holly. Tali's was good. No. Tali's was like a totally different game all of a sudden. You get to go to the fleet for the first time. That was great.
Yeah, like getting to see the Quarians and like their culture, and there's a theme here too, where like both the Quarian storyline and the Krogan genophage, like those storylines in and of themselves could have been their own games. Like a lesser game would have just been a game about that stuff. But yeah, to go there, and then I just love the because you find out that Tali's father was at fault here, and basically put at risk the entire flotilla. But he did it for her as like a moonshot at a chance of being able to like wipe out the Geth, so he could get them back to their planet like he promised her when they was young. So there's some heartstrings there. But then you get back, and Tali's like, please, Shepard, don't tell them what my father did. Like let them exile me. And I had enough Paragon points where I was able to like shame
me too.
the Quarian admirably, and to be like, how dare you? So yeah, I had just like a nice ending. And Tali is great because the last time, like you said, last time we'd seen Tali, she was still very much a child.
Yeah.
And it continues in 3, but like Tali is very much more grown up now. It's one of the biggest indicators of like, oh, I have been gone 2 years. Like Tali has very much like grown into a strong woman.
She's now a very very important asset to her kind, to her people too. Like she's constantly doing all these really important things, going on these missions and stuff. I had done Legion I'd acquired Legion before that loyalty mission, and I brought him with me. And that was
How does
fun.
that play out?
Not as hilarious as you'd think. Like they just let him on because again, like they're just gonna kind of roll with the punches. But I thought there was some unique dialogue. They obviously thought like, okay, the player can do this, so here's this option. And again, it doesn't really amount to much. It's not like they make him stay there, or the game doesn't tell you it's like, you probably should leave the Geth, the walking, talking Geth on the ship. Don't bring him with. No, they let you bring him with. I just thought it was funny.
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite screw you and your fleet.
Because I really liked Tali. I was gonna romance her if I hadn't already. I don't think you're allowed to until after the loyalty mission. But I liked Legion a lot too. I didn't know about Legion. At least I don't remember. Shepard Commander, exactly. With goofy little idiosyncrasy. But I liked Legion. I was like, no. We're gonna get along. I just like a parent who shoves the kids together and says, "Kiss and make up." That was my tactic on bringing Legion into the Quarian flotilla.
I'm gonna get you guys kissing and making up and resolving your differences well in advance of Mass Effect 3 at this point.
Exactly.
You also apparently lost your crew then.
What?
Your crew going into suicide mission?
Everybody
lost died.
Them? No,
no. You're the Normandy crew, the regulars.
Oh, yeah. I wasted
members.
a bunch of time. Had no idea that was the thing that could happen, and the only person that survived was good old Dr. Chakwas, who was the only person I liked.
I had the benefit of hindsight from when I played this game 2 years ago, knowing I get to do one mission after the mission where you get Legion, and if you do 2 missions, everyone dies except.
Is
for
that the
Dr.
trick?
Chakwas.
You just save Legion for last.
Because you basically have to do everything you want to do. Go do the basically the second to last collector mission, which is where you get Legion, do Legion's loyalty mission, and then go and do the suicide mission.
Oh, if I had done it right away, I would have had so many loyalty missions left, like maybe half of them.
Yeah, I knew from foresight or from hindsight, sorry, that okay, I need to make sure I've done everyone's loyalty missions before I do this.
They did not emphasize how important it was that I get there right away.
They did not, which is why
clear to me.
Which is why younger Sean was like, well.
Oh, well.
Sorry, Engineer Adams.
I guess it's not a perfect run, but it really, like, nothing. Yeah, exactly. Engineer Adams and then...
Or no, Adams is the one from the first and third game. Donnelly and Donovan.
Oh, that is true. That. I do like them, but I don't go see them.
The Fitzsimmons of the Normandy. The Fitzsimmons, I think before Fitzsimmons was...
Have you watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I have, yeah.
All of it?
I think I missed the last 1 or 2 seasons.
We got to talk about that sometime. I love that show.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll watch the last... I didn't watch whatever season where like life model decoy Coulson came back. I didn't watch
life model decoy. Yeah, I didn't watch that. That doesn't sound familiar at all, so I didn't watch that one either.
Okay, your favorite loyalty mission?
That's a tough one. Ooh. Let's see, Morden's is great. I actually really like Miranda's a lot. I forgot how good Tali's was until you mentioned it. Garrus's was incredibly disappointing.
I was just thinking. I was like, Garrus's was of all of them. Is
I literally don't even remember. You just hunt down that one guy.
Yeah, he basically the guy who betrayed his squad when he was trying to basically be Shepard on Omega. You basically do a couple missions to figure out where he is, and then that guy comes and he was like, I feel so bad about what I did. Please let me live with my shame. And you can either be like, all right, or step to the side and Garrus kills him. You're like,
yeah, okay. I think I spared him, made him go like work on Omega in the clinic or something like that.
Yep,
to rectify it. Who was the other one I was gonna say?
Thane?
No, I mentioned Thane earlier. Funnily enough, I really enjoyed Samara's, where you have to find your daughter and because that one proposes like maybe the biggest shock choice I've ever like seen suddenly. Like they're like just to skip to the end, the daughter and the mother are fighting with biotic, standoff, and you can tip the scales real easy, all like, Darth Vader style at the end of Return of the Jedi, and you can choose to help Samara, obviously the loyalty option, or you can kill her, and then her daughter will replace her because they look nearly identical, which I thought was really interesting. Of course, I did not do that, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very different from the rest of them. And I like that character. Very different from most characters that you find, not just in the Mass Effect series, but in most games. You're not going to have this zealot who doesn't come off as like an obvious idiot / like evil person. She, like, you don't get to see enough of any of like
she come. I mean, like she is zealot, but she is like there's thought and wisdom there of I know my code is extreme, but like I'm. Like,
she's a space paladin.
She is
to a T, and it's awesome.
Way of putting it.
I love it. I took Samara on a lot of quests. Into the third. No, you can't do user the third one, but you can like you meet up with her at one point. Yeah, I love them all. Like I don't know if I have a favorite. There's just all so much fun, except for the sucky ones. I think the Kasumi one was too long, way too long, and not that interesting.
The Kasumi one, I thought it was going to be much more because I didn't play Kasumi back in the day because I didn't have any of the DLCs. The Kasumi one, I was like, oh, all right, we're gonna play a stealth game. Nope, no, we're not. No,
not really.
We're just going right back to cover shooter.
And she's too cheeky. Like everything's like a silly little joke. I'm like,
she of all of the characters felt the most out of place with the universe to me.
She did almost like she was, exactly, very meta almost. Like she's just she's about to break the fourth wall of like any minute now. They're all great. That's why I did them all, because the characters are good and the loyalty missions are amazing.
Mass Effect 2 is the only one where I didn't do all of the quests. There was a couple side or DLC quests that deal with like the new version of the Mako that I did like the first one or two, and I was like, these are lame, and I don't know what's going on, and I'm done. I did do those. Was there a payoff there? Because it didn't seem like there was going to be a payoff there.
I don't think so.
Did you do Bring Down the Sky?
I didn't do Bring Down the Sky. I did I did the AI one. What is it called?
Oh, with David Archer.
I had no idea what I was getting into. I was taking a side quest, and like 4 hours later, I'm like, what did I just go through?
That one hurts and is also creepy.
It's so creepy, and there's no good ending.
A great. Well, you can. Did you not send him to the Grissom?
No. I mean, like, you have the best of the worst.
Yeah.
Possible situation, which is like this guy's gonna have a chance, and then you do get to see him in 3, and he's living the best life he can at this point. But it's so heart-wrenching either way.
What's the square root of blah 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 moment? That's a nice little payoff,
right?
But yeah, that's a painful one. Bring Down the Sky is you end up killing like you destroy an entire solar system. You crash it.
Can't believe I missed it.
And then it really, because I did it after the suicide mission, and it really sets up nicely. I'd be like, oh, this is why my Shepard is essentially being court-martialed in the third game, because I killed a lot of people. Yeah, that made
no sense to me. I had you explained it to me eventually, but like I was so confused why, like, again, like here's this ludicrous reason why Shepard isn't just, and like I get that there is technically an explanation. That's just the way they went with it. But I was like, but why? Why put him again once more on the back foot for no reason? Why can't we just start the third game more or less where the second one leaves off, and then boom, the Reapers attack? It's like, it's stupid. It's so dumb.
It made. I remember disliking the start of the third one because when I went to go play the third one, I replayed like the suicide mission in the second one, back in the day, and then being like, why? I mean, they like endorsed me, like essentially like Anderson's like, we're gonna make you a Spectre again. Like no one seemed particularly. Right. That angry that was service, and now I've been like locked up for 6 months doing Bring Down the Sky and being like, all right, I mean, like I was kind of justified, but I killed a lot of people.
Sure.
All right, like that time it's like, this is slightly more fair. I'm a little bit less upset about this time. Suicide mission. One of the best set pieces probably in gaming. I mean, just from your just the epicness. I presume your Normandy was fully upgraded by this point.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know. I knew the word suicide mission. That was all I knew. And that's not something the game tells you. That's something other people talk about as that moment. I didn't know what that meant, but I could tell I'm probably gonna want these upgrades. Like it's stupid of me not to do them. They only cost some money or some resources or whatever. It wasn't that big a deal. I ended up upgrading almost everything I could anyway.
Yeah.
So.
The game. If you just take the time to play the the drone searching game, the planetary resource game.
Yes.
It throws you never you may run out because you get a bunch and doing a bunch of upgrades, but it's like, all right, let me go visit like a solar system and I'm restocked and everything again, and I'll do a few more upgrades.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those moments where, like, when you were a kid, you would replay like a really cool part from a game that you had a save file for. This is that. Like, this is that in a like, it's not that modern anymore, but like in modern gaming, this is that moment. Like, I just want to go play through the suicide mission again. Yeah, that was fun. Let's do that.
Yeah. But yeah, watching those ship upgrades, getting to see them actually pay off, getting to blow up that damn collector ship that blew up the SR-1 Normandy.
I know.
It was like, vengeance.
It became obviously clear once the mission starts, and then it became clear to me that people could die. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's interesting. How does this? And then I lost one person. I lost poor Zaid. Not because I didn't do his loyalty mission, because I did. But I chose him for something he's simply not suited for, I guess. It didn't seem like that was the case for me, but the game decided that was the case, and so he dies in the most like anticlimactic way possible. And I shed no tears for him because it's Zaid.
If it makes you feel better, he shows up in the third game. But his one mission in the third game is just like, oh, hey Zaid, we're both hunting the same guy. Cool.
Yeah, that sounds really boring.
Maybe see you later. He is very hilarious at the party.
Oh, I bet he would have been. Yeah.
I think if you do the quiet party, he hits him and Samar at one point, and they're just staring. Oh, it's one of the parts. They're staring at artwork, and he she's just trying to like comment on the artwork, and he's trying to flirt with her, and just getting nowhere. And then in the other party version, it's him and Garrus going around your apartment and being like, we can't let someone impersonate Shepard again. Let's booby trap Shepard's apartment. And it's just, you keep running them at different stages of the party. Like he's in the bathtub, like, all right, if anyone without Shepard's DNA steps in the bathtub, the thing will overheat and like melt them. And you're like, Zaid, it was a clone. They have my DNA. And he's like, damn it.
That's hilarious. I'll make sure he survives next time so I can get the full party. And I'll do the other, I'll do the quiet. Did I do? I don't remember which part I did. But we're getting ahead.
I lost no one. Again, hindsight. Younger Sean was had after having a not so great original suicide mission, looked up some things, and that paid the benefit for older Sean to be like, I know the right people to pick for these decisions. Everyone will survive.
Exactly.
I will say, having played as a soldier originally and having all the weapons, I'm very glad that as a Vanguard, that at the one point where you can pick like, oh, would you like to gain proficiency with assault rifles? I was like, yes, because the black bubble part where you pick like Samara or Jack to build the bubble, that would not have worked with a shotgun.
No, it doesn't, because you got to shoot what they're like these little buggy things, the little drones.
Well, and just everyone's outside of the radius.
That too.
So you just can't close, you can't charge.
I still charged anyway because by then I was OP and I would leave the bubble and get back in the bubble.
I don't need your bubble.
I didn't. I had my own bubble.
Nice. But every moment to that suit, and part of it's the music. It's just that like dun dun dun. It's just building, and you're just like, I got to do this, and we got to do this, and like my whole team's here, and we got this. Like it just keeps ratcheting up and maintains the like, I am epic, and we're especially as you start going through and people aren't dying because you've gotten the upgrades and you've got the loyalty missions, and you're like, yeah, no, we're gonna survive this.
Tension's still there the whole time though.
It is, because people can die, and you're not sure if, the hardest one for me too is when you pick your party to go do the basically the final segment and do the big bad boss fight at the end. Every party member has a point value that they can that stays behind, has a point value, and if you don't have above a certain point value, you'll lose people. So like if you took your two big heavy hitters, or like sent your heavy hitter and then took your other two, you could have not enough points and you'll lose some people just while they're trying to buy you time. Yeah,
it's a crazy spreadsheet, decision web that that you can look up on how this mission plays out. If you don't know what we're talking about somehow, basically based on all the loyalty missions and lots of decisions you get to make during the suicide mission, people can start dropping off like flies at seemingly random points, and it won't seem random though. It'll just seem part of the chaos. Like if you didn't upgrade this part of the ship, the laser will come and hit the ship, and poor Jack, who's just stared out the window, won't be protected by the extra plating that you bought and purchased and designed, and will just blow up and die. And like you haven't even started the mission yet, and Jack's dead. And it would just seem like a very Game of Thrones-esque kind of thing.
Or like, the bubble. Yeah, it's somewhat implied you should pick your strongest biotic, but if you're like, Miranda's a pretty strong biotic.
You've got like 4 strong biotics. You've got 2 really strong ones, but
then, if the like other person gets carried away, and you're just like, okay, like
that's
sucks
it.
to suck. I guess I did do this quick enough,
right? And it's not exactly, again, it's not clear. It's like if you don't already know going in, it's not clear what happens, and so it goes back to my other points, like especially after the suicide mission. I asked earlier, like at the end of the loyalty missions, did you ever want to do anything that wouldn't end in them being loyal to you? And then like even after the suit, like how can you not do everything on every playthrough unless you're on your like 4th playthrough, like I can't see myself doing this again. It's like a femship and romancing some different people, but still playing Mass Effect 2 identically. And I read an article about like how Mass Effect 2 kind of spoiled people for 3, because Mass Effect 2 basically created a game in which you could have a quote unquote perfect run. Whereas Mass Effect 1 and 3 do not have such a thing. They have those very binary choices where, like, if you do this, you can't have that. Which one's it going to be?
And we'll get more into that once we get to the endings, because that's a key point. Is there's some definite not perfect decisions, or there is no perfect decision in both those games. But yeah, two gives you your cake and lets you eat it for sure.
And it's fun. It's really, really fun.
Except for I didn't like the giant T-1000, the Human Reaper.
I thought it was interesting because, like I said, they'd already talked about how the Reaper. I thought it was just like you talked about the mystery of the Reapers being like too revealed or whatever. And I think that I like this. I feel like we hadn't seen enough of it yet. And I feel like this was just another layer. It's like, what do the Reapers want with us? Are they just killing us? Because they could do that any time. No, they're harvesting us. Why are they we become them. And then, a giant human Reaper.
And I love that. But what drives me nuts is when you later on see the Reapers, it's not like half of, a couple of them look like Protheans. They all look like Leviathans.
Well, the idea is that the Protheans were not compatible for some reason. They ended up They used them. They used them for like fuel and resources, but they couldn't make a new one out of. They didn't like a new Reaper was not born out of the Protheans. However, you're right. They still all look like Leviathans. They don't look like anything else.
I agree with you. I like the fact that it was like, this is what we're like they're gonna do to us.
Right.
Like, I like that whole aspect. I just hated the like, I'm fighting a giant Terminator.
Yeah, it was boring. Okay. It was a real big sponge
and like his
fight.
little his little head bob just is like, you're just making this just come on, guys.
Yeah, it was kind of dumb.
But every other part great.
Yeah, and then at the end you get a dumb choice to give this stuff to Cerberus. Like again, like what? Why would I give any of this to these guys? They're clearly the devil. Like. Unless you can't really play that, like you said earlier, this isn't KOTOR. You can't play a Sith, and so it would make no sense to do that except just to do it to see what happens. And that's not role playing.
I do feel because you get a lot of opportunities to defend Cerberus throughout the course of that game if you want to,
right?
And I do feel like, and this isn't great but it boiled down to essentially it was like if you're it was to me the continuation of the humanity will become, will rule the galaxy mentality. Because that's what Cerberus is all about. They very much play up Cerberus to be all about that. And so this was like, I'm going to give this to Cerberus because they're going to help humanity take their rightful place at the top of the galaxy.
Right. That makes sense.
But I definitely blew up that base.
Oh yeah, me too, for sure.
I have watched videos like, you'll get that choice, and I think if like Miranda, like some of your party members, when you go to make the choice, will be like, I think, like Shepard. Imagine what we could learn from this base. We should keep it intact. And then if you keep it intact and you walk around the ship later, without exception, every party member is like, you shouldn't have done that, Shepard. That was a terrible idea. And I was like, I've watched video, people like, you told me I should leave it intact.
Right.
And Garrett's like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. That was the worst idea you've ever made. Go back to your calibration, stupid.
I don't think we have
reptile bird.
Right. At one point, he makes a joke about how like he thinks that they're calibrated enough at this point. And I thought that was really funny. We don't have time to talk about it because we got to move on to the third game. But the Shadow Broker DLC, don't skip it. It's really, really good.
It is very fun. And
especially if you like Liara. If you like Liara and you want to continue to quote unquote romance her, she's not a party member, at least not a permanent party member in that game, but you can like quote unquote lock in the romance for the second game to do the full like. I think there's even a trophy associated with romance the same person 3 times, because I think she's the only one you can do that with. No, you can do it with one of the humans too, whichever one you don't.
No, there's no. So there's a trophy for romance a character in every game.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't have to be the same character in every game.
Ah, okay.
There's Paramore 1, 2, and 3, and it's basically romance a character in Mass Effect 1, romance a character in 2 games, romance a character in 3 games.
Got it. All right. Well, never mind. Just sleep with whoever. But yeah, we can't talk about it now. But it's really lengthy. It's really fun, and I think it's story relevant in a way that like probably should have been included, honestly.
Yeah, and it really sets up as a segue into the third game of building that relationship you have with Liara, because your relationship, whether romance or not, with Liara in the third game is pretty critical.
It's super critical.
Okay.
Bathroom breaks are for sissy Solarians. I said it. I'm a Krogan. I have 4 bladders. I can hold my urine for months. Months at a time. We revel in the chance for urinary tract infections.